Welcome to Read Between the Wines, where two bibliophiles discuss our love of the written word from cover to cover and cork to glass. Pour yourself a beverage and join us for this week's episode. Cheers!
But hello.
Hello again.
We're back again.
I love that. And every time we start with like back again, there's like 6 songs that fly through my head, or I'm like, which one am I quoting? It could be all of them. And so I think it might be all of them at the same time. There's
All of
an
them.
amalgamation.
At the same time, happening as a big old symphony in my head.
Right? Today, we are talking about 5-star reads. And what is a 5-star read?
What is a 5-star read?
How do you, for one thing, stars are so subjective, we know, right? And sometimes
So
they'll
hard.
depend on my mood. So I've been known to go back in when I was in a better mood and to adequately or accurately re-rate a book because I was like cranky or I'd finished it too quick or whatever, and I had just given it like an off-the-cuff star rating. And I will tell you, I'm a big fan of star ratings that have like a point to something. If you just tell me like, hey, I can do like 1 star to 5 stars, that's it. But if I can give something like a 4.75 or a 3.25, like I am into that. I'm into it.
No, there's
Yes.
too many options
It's
for
not
me.
too many because there are some books that are like, it's more than a 3 but less than a 4. And so I like to accurately relate that and be like, hey, this is why it's a 3.5. Didn't quite make it to a 4, but it definitely wasn't just a 3.
Oh, I have such a hard time with ratings because I've had so many conversations about this. So the 5-star rating, I'm like, ugh, it's so many options. I feel like you either like it or you didn't.
So it's
Okay,
a 5 or
I'm
1.
kind of in that boat, right?
Yes.
You get a 1 or a 5, like there is no in between. But also, I was having a conversation yesterday and I was like, we should have a 3-star rating system. 1, I'm not going to read that again. Wouldn't recommend it to anybody. 2, I liked it. It was good. 3, loved it. Favorite. What is this? Okay. We have happy little.
God, I love technology. That was great.
One
Yes,
more
your
time
2-star,
with feeling.
right? No, but I'm with
Yeah.
you. I'm with you. Three is we're rating and we are giving away and we are sharing and we are recommending, and that's what a 3 would. I'm cool with that. If that were the case, I would only use the full star because there's only 3. I think that's
Yes.
why. I think because my ratings go from 3 to 5. Right? I don't unless I hate it. It gets a 1 if I hate it. A 2, rarely have I ever given it, if
I
ever,
was like, I
have
don't
given
even know
a
what
2.
a 2 is. Yes.
Right? And so I think my ratings go from 3 to 5. 3 is like, all right, it was a book, right?
It was
Like
fine.
a 1 is I'm never reading you again or DNF'd. A
I should have
3,
DNF'd you, but
right?
didn't.
A
That's what a 1
3,
is.
a 3 is it was a book. It was enjoyable to the point that like I didn't put it down. It was predictable and it was fine, right? 3 is a fine. 4 is this was a really good book. I will probably recommend it, but it didn't change my world. 5 is you changed my world and everyone must read you. That's how I do it.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
So that's how I do mine.
So now that we've laid that framework,
Exactly.
now you know when we recommend 5-star books, you know the level we're talking about.
Yes, I think that's accurate for
Yes.
the purposes of today's discussion.
Why
So what's
we're
your
here.
first, right? What's your
No,
first 5
you
star?
go
Why?
first.
Me
You
go
go
first?
first.
Okay, I'll go first this
So
time.
much pressure. I want to see what you have.
You're fine. So in last week's episode, we talked about books we wish we could read again. And this is kind of a continuation of that because while I would love to have read this book again, it didn't change me the way that the Must Read Again did, but it's still a 5-star because it's still really good. So this one is called America's First Daughter. And no surprise there,
Interesting.
it is historical fiction. And it is written by the same authors who wrote My Dear Hamilton.
Okay.
But this time, it is about Thomas Jefferson's daughter.
Ooh.
And it starts with the passing of her mother, which happened early on. Well, early-ish, right? But it starts with the passing of her mother. And it talks from her perspective about basically her life as the daughter of Jefferson and the things that he went through and how she, like, the man did a lot of great, amazing things, but also was kind of a mess. And like without having a strong woman by his side as his partner because his wife had passed and he loved her dearly for the most part, as much as one can in that time period where things weren't always kosher. Um, there were a lot of things that she had to do and pull the reins on in order to make them happen and to have him like be who he is. And so I loved it. Like I said, didn't love it as much as My Dear Hamilton, but it's still the 5 stars because it's still the one like where I'm like, okay, I recommend My Dear Hamilton. I recommend America's First Daughter. Recommend them both the same amount. Will always be like, hey, if you read this one, also read this one. You love historical fiction?
Also,
Fantastic. Here's a set, right?
yeah.
Also, more books, please. But it's just so good. And again, you learn about someone you didn't know much about. And for this one, I want to say that I felt more for her as like it pulled on me a little bit more to the point that I was like, I wish she had made some different decisions and things. And I wish that like things had worked out for her a different way. And I wished like none of it was bad, clearly, because we have record of her, but there was so much there. And I think there are even places where there's some passing like nod to Eliza and nod to some of the wives and things like that because she's obviously younger. She's the daughter. But she does pass in some of the similar circles given who her father was. So I
Interesting.
love
Was
it.
this written by the same person?
It is written by the same women.
Okay,
And so
okay.
it has that same feeling to it. And I don't want to say I don't think I read them one directly after the other, but I think I read one and was like, oh god, that was great. And then a little while later I was like, there's another. And so I grabbed it and read that one too and was like, okay, these are book buddies forever
Yes.
and will continue to be. And so from a 5-star perspective, I also think of a 5-star as a book that I remember, right? That one where when somebody says, because you get that like moment of panic when
Stuck
somebody's like,
with
what's
you.
your
Yeah.
favorite book? And you're like, oh God, I don't know. Right? Like, or when somebody says, what's your favorite song? And it's like, you've never listened to a
What
music
song is in your
before.
head right now? You're
Like what I
like,
just did to you, right? But right, or if somebody's like, tell me a joke. If you told me to tell you a joke off the cuff, I'd be like, I've never heard a joke in my life.
I don't know what
Like,
you're. I
what
don't
is
even
a
know what a
joke?
joke is.
Because I just can't do it. But I feel like for certain books, when somebody's like, what book do you recommend? I have a plethora that I can pull from because they are 5-star reads, or because they've changed
Who you be? Yes.
who I am. So
Yes.
I think that's why that one starts at one of my 5 stars. And the thing is, I don't think I rank my 5 stars like this is my top 5-star read. They're just all in the same, they're in the same box. This is my box of 5-star reads. So I can't say like this
Yes.
is my favorite 5-star read because I couldn't do that. They're all just 5 stars.
Yeah.
So
So
that
we're
one is
not
my first.
ranking our five
No.
stars. That would be tough.
No. Oh, can you imagine? Here,
That
take all
could
of
be
your
an
five
episode,
stars.
though. I've
Oh
seen people
God.
doing that. They're ranking the books that they read.
That
Like,
they
so like in
loved.
2024, kind of as a wrap up. No, just
Oh.
ranking all of them, like where they
Oh.
fell on the list.
Well,
People are doing this, and I'm like, I have such a hard time with the star rating system. I don't know what structure my order of recommendation is going to look like. Like there's just
right?
no telling. Because it's
Right?
like, it's great, you should read it, or meh, don't waste your time.
Maybe not. That's okay. I'm actually looking on my thing right now because I'm using, this is a topic for another episode, of course. I'm using 3 different book trackers to see which one I
I
like
saw
best,
that so much,
right?
so
But
much.
I'm looking at like right now for the books I've read because I have read a few books this year so far.
Already
Um, I
starting.
have, and it actually, my average rating for the last 5 books is 4.1 stars.
Yeah,
So that would be, I feel like that would be really hard. I think it would be easy to be like, oh, these are, this is how your book's ranked out because this app that I was just looking at does it for me. So
oh,
at the end of this
nice.
year, I will have a wrap up that has like, here's
You
how you
will
wrap those.
know.
Right. I'm excited for that. I'm excited for
I
that.
will have to
But we'll see.
I will have to guess on mine.
Right?
Yeah.
We'll see. Give me one of your 5-star reads.
So this is a series, and I the entire series. So it's all 3 books.
Okay, I was like,
They were all
is
five
the whole
star.
series 5 stars? Is it a 5-star
Yes,
series? Oh, okay. What
it
are you?
is The
I've never seen
Discovery
this.
of Witches, and I buy these used, so I had no idea that this was the TV show cover, and that is printed.
No.
That
We
is
know how we
not
feel about
a
that. It's not a
Yeah,
sticky
so it's
sticker.
printed. So I had no idea until I picked up book 2 and 3, and I was like, oh,
Oh. Oh, I think
they
I've
have
seen these.
super cute covers.
Yeah.
So, okay, so this series is it's different from anything else I've ever read
Oh,
because it it addresses witches and vampires from a scientific approach,
okay.
from a scholarly approach. So our main girl in this one um, finds out that she's a witch later. You know,
Right.
she doesn't know it in the beginning, but she's like
This isn't Maybelline. She's not born with
Oxford.
it.
She's doing research. She's
Right.
in like this really old library in Cambridge, I think. Um, and like things start to happen. And so her, but her discipline is alchemical science.
Ooh.
And so she's trying to approach now what she's knowing to be her witchcraft. She's been writing off as science and like so studying the history of witches and how they came to be. She ends up meeting a vampire, and he's a biologist, microbiologist.
Funny.
He's also studying the origin of how these it's witches, it's vampires, it's demons,
Okay.
how they have all came to be, why the species are going extinct. Like, so you get the magic, but it's not like pure fantasy. It's like based in a scholarly, like it's very different from anything.
Ooh, I
It
like that.
like these are thick books,
Yeah.
but I will
Yeah.
tell you these sucked me in and I read through them so quickly.
Hmm.
Just it was great, and those will definitely stick with me just because they were so different from anything I've read before.
Right. And because it sometimes feels like we read a lot of the fantasy, a lot of the romantasy, a lot of that sort of stuff. It feels like sometimes the themes are just regurgitated, right? Which is
Hmm.
sometimes what I love about a book, and I'm not knocking on that, especially for
Sometimes you want an easy read like
right
that.
from like a
Yes.
romance standpoint. Like there are certain things, there are certain authors that I'm like, I know exactly what I'm getting into here. It's like your favorite dinner. Like you know what it's supposed to taste like, you know what it's supposed to look like, and even though you've had it a million times before, it doesn't mean you're going to enjoy it any less.
Right.
So it's nice when you get something where you're like, I'm expecting some semblance
Yeah.
of recognition here, but it's good that it's so different. Where
It's
you're like,
so
oh, it doesn't
different.
matter. Like
Yes.
this is new and exciting, even though it's characters that I have a little bit of an idea about.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's very cool because in book two, I don't know if this is a spoiler, I doubt it, but they go back in history
Oh,
so that she
nice. So
can
there's a little time
discover her
travel.
roots. Yeah. Which
Ooh.
we all know how I feel about history. I'm not a fan because I did not study it very well. I don't understand it very well. So I thought it was going to be difficult to get into, like pre-witch trial type stuff, like
Yeah.
15, 1400s.
Ooh.
Um,
That sounds like something I
but
would
because
like.
I was already connected with these characters, it was much easier to then go through the story. So definitely recommend those. Actually, it's funny, those came recommended to me on Threads because I had book one, and I mean, she's a thick girl. So I was like, oh, I don't know, could be heavy. And people were like, no, 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 it's so good, you'll fly through it. And I really did. So now I am also on that bandwagon, and I will recommend them. 5-star reads.
So, question about
Mhm.
series. Do you prefer to know that a book is a series before you start it?
I mm, I want to say no,
Okay.
but when I pick up a book, oh, it's part of a series. Now I'm paranoid because I'm like, is this book one? Am I going to be able to find book two? Like, do I wait until I have all of them? Like, what are we doing? So, I don't know that I want to know, but yes, I do want to know.
I will say it changes the way that I read the book if I know it's part of a series. So it's not that I don't want to know, right? I want to know because the same thing. Like, I want to make sure I have all the pieces or that I have a chance to read them all when I finish the first one and love it. I just want to roll into the second one. Like, don't make me wait. But
Yes.
also, if I know that a book one is part of a series, I already know that the characters that I love, for the most part, are going to make it through. And I
Or it's
think
not
that,
going to be wrapped up nicely at the end
right?
of this one. You're going to have
And
some
it
carryover.
takes a little bit of the mystery out of it. And
It
I'm like,
does.
I don't hate it, but at the same time, I'm like, dang it. Like,
Yes.
and for the, I'm not into books that like my favorite characters die. Like, right? Like, I barely like TV shows that do that. So I don't know. I don't want, I like it. I like knowing it, but I also hate it. I'm
Right?
like, you're ruining
Yes.
it for me, but it's not ruining anything
Same.
because they wrote it as a series, so you know that the character's going to make it through. But I also know maybe it's even better because then I know when I get to a harrowing part of the story where the person is in danger of some sort, I'm like, they're in book
It's
two, they'll make it
fine.
through.
It's
It might
fine.
not, they
There's
might not have
another book.
all their limbs may not be
Exactly.
attached, but they're gonna be in book two. Maybe we'll get like a mechanical hand or something. I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows what happens after that? But they make it.
Yes, but I love that you recommended a series as a 5-star series. Because there are
5-star
several series that
series.
I've read that I like some of the books, but not all of them.
Yeah,
And
I think
so,
that's definitely been the norm for me too. Like I really like book one, so I'll read book two, and then I'm like, I mean, maybe not book three.
right,
So,
that's fair. Very fair. Something else that we didn't happen to mention is that we're still not together.
oh
And so
yes,
the next few episodes will be us in separate places. Also recording sometimes in the morning-ish hours, which is not necessarily wine appropriate. So it could be just
this
coffee
might be
and
wine.
Bailey's. It might be, or it could be coffee and Bailey's. Who knows?
You'll never know.
Right? But just so you know, we're not giving up on the wine piece. We just
We
prefer
aren't
not to
quitters.
drink alone.
We're not quitters.
And I feel like
We
a
still
9
do
a.m.
that.
call time for wine, unless it's a mimosa, is usually not, especially when we have to work,
Yeah,
not the best choice.
not the best.
Not the best. I do have another 5-star read, and
Yes,
this
tell
one is a
me.
more mainstream one,
Okay.
and it's more recent, and it was Book Lovers by Emily Henry. So I love all of Emily Henry's books, right? Love her
Okay.
books. But I really loved Book Lovers because it was about two writers, right? It was about two writers who
Yes.
like went to school together, and they were kind of like, it's kind of like an enemies to lovers situation, and it's just adorable. And it gives me that feeling. There are certain books that give you the feeling of, like, I want to be in that place. I want to, that's the kind of life I want to curate. And there were
That's
pieces of this
life.
with the small town and the relationships with the people and the experience. Like, I was like, oh, I just like, I want to be friends. Like, if it's a
Yeah,
book where
I
you
want to
wrote
be
the
part of
character,
this world.
right? If you wrote a book where the characters were something that I can see myself hanging out with, I'm like, yeah, I want to be there. Like, just, is this a real place? Like, if it causes me to Google, like, is this a real place? It's usually done pretty well. And so, and
Yes.
there's not, and Emily Henry books are, again, some of those that are, she's a great author and she's very popular right now, which is great. And she's predictable in the way that she has a specific way of storytelling that I absolutely love. But this one, and there are several others of hers that I really like, but Book Lovers, I think, was my first introduction to her. And so I think
Oh,
that's why
okay.
it was a 5. I think that's why
That
that
one
one's a
holds
5
the
for, and
special place.
right,
Yeah.
but I think the
Just
other ones
that
are also
experience.
5s, but this one is the one that I call out. I'm like, nah, it's this one. Like, I really liked this one.
That's the one to start with. I have seen a bunch of her books, and the
Hmm.
covers are so happy.
They're so bright. There's like
Yes.
there's one called Happy Place. There's Funny Story. There's Book Lovers. And I've read all of them. Like, every time there's a new one, I'm like, you know what? I will go and get this one and
I
read it.
need this. Thank you.
Right? And the fact that I think I have them all in hardcover. I think all but one are in hardcover right now. I'm like, now I
Ooh,
have to get them new
this is
because,
serious.
right? Because
This
they're
is
all hardcover
serious.
books. So I think that was my second 5-star. Like I said, it's one of those that it just brought me to a place where I was like, yes, it was my
It's just
introduction, dipping of the toe into the Emily Henry sphere, and I love her world, and I love the way that she writes things, and it's believable, and it's cute, and it's happy, and it's all the things that I love, with a little bit of drama in there that doesn't hurt anyone.
doesn't wreck your world.
Right?
Yeah, that's good. I feel like first introductions to authors, you either love them or you hate them. You're
Mm-hmm.
like, I love this book and I will look for anything else you've written, or like, it was fine, but I'm probably not going to seek you out,
Yeah.
which is hysterical. And the perfect segue, into, so it's not necessarily this book, that is a
Okay.
5 star,
Okay.
but it's this author.
Oh, a 5-star author.
5 star author. So I pick up, I don't care. I don't even read. If I see PC Cast or Kristen Cast on a book, so PC Cast is the mom, Kristen Cast is the daughter. If I see anything with either of their names, I pick them up. I don't even read the back of the book because
Well,
I
you just
know
make
what
sure
I'm
you don't have
getting.
it.
I mean, yes, make
I was
sure I
like,
don't have
read
it.
the title, maybe.
Let's just make sure. But I do. I have a couple more. I mean, you can maybe if you zoom in, there's two there.
Oh,
Never
yeah.
heard of them. But I was like, PC Cast, yes, you are mine. Kristen Cast has a new book out called The Empress, and it is based on tarot. It's like, it's a witchy theme based in like a tarot land. So they're in like, yeah, oh
I'm like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, wait a minute. Okay, I don't know anything about this author and I don't know anything about this book.
yes.
So I want more.
So yeah, this is, but so you're always gonna get something witchy, something magical. Um, The introduction series that I read that led me to both of them was the House of Night series, and it was 13 books, and they weren't massive, but it was based out of Oklahoma, which is where I'm from. So I could see the places that they were talking about. It was about Native folklore and the stories that they grew up with the Native heritage. And then they ended up at the House of Night because it was vampires. Like it kind of the Native American folklore led into vampire.
Yeah.
And so it was basically like, I'm guessing like a high school or a college for these kids. But it was, like I said, it was my introduction to them. I love the way they write and I love that world. I'm a fantasy girl for sure. Um, but it's written with like humor and like realisticness, and so it was very easy to get lost in. So 5 star author, taking it a little further, both of those ladies, anything they write, I pick up and read.
And so they don't write series together, correct? They just said
That
they
was the
have their
only
own.
one they wrote
Oh, the only
together.
one together. And then,
Yes.
so they have a similar style of writing regardless of what they're writing.
Yes.
Nice. Do you ever
Yes.
get confused and you're like, oh, is this one or is this the other? Is it hard to tell the difference between the two of them? Are they that similar?
Um, I feel like I lump them together anyway.
Fair.
So
Fair. I just didn't
I'm
know if
like
like one
one
had a
is the
nuance, like,
other.
right? Like I didn't know if one had like a nuance more toward something
Mm.
that the other one did, or if they are both just like mother, like daughter, which is actually really
Uh,
cool.
so funny you say that. I did just catch a live with her. She was talking about her new book, and um, she did say the difference in there because they're both in the witchery vein.
Yeah.
But and now I can't remember, so I'm gonna absolutely lie if I were to say anything at this point. But she said like her mom is in this vein of witchery, and she's over here in this
Okay.
vein.
So similar
Um,
topic, different
yeah, but
strands.
different approaches or different visions
Oh,
of
cool.
it. So it was very interesting. So I'm very excited to pick up The Empress. And then she said the follow on to that, I think she said that's going to be a 4 book series, 3 or 4 book series. So it's The Empress, and then The Lovers will be out in October. And it takes place in another. So you have like your major arcana are some of the main characters, and they live in the land of, I think this one is in the land of Pentacles.
Oh,
So it's like this
interesting.
whole thing, like it's a whole tarot witch
Oh. Oh, I
theme.
don't hate that. Just because I
I'm
have I
very
have a
excited.
significant understanding of several of those themes, so I wonder
Yes,
how close it is toward my interpretation of the cards. It'll be
yes.
very interesting to see like, oh, okay, I will be reading that very soon. And like I said previously, I was in a little bit of a book slump. Maybe this will get me out where I'm like I have something to look for.
This is a
So,
new one. Yes,
I
because
will
I
forget to
had
write that
seen the
down and text
book.
it. Yes.
Yes, I had seen the book. I had heard people talking about this book called The Empress. And I was like, I mean, that's a very interesting concept. And when I was at the bookstore, I saw it on the shelf and it said Kristen Cast. And I was like,
Hmm.
now I feel like I would have known Like that would have caught on. And I was like, is this the same? I'm like, I'm gonna have to do some research to be like, is this the same? And then sure enough, it is. It is her. So that's on the list.
Yeah,
Very
no
excited. But
kidding.
yeah,
And
five
again,
star,
an author I
all
don't
of
know,
them.
two authors I don't know anything about. And
And
so
like
I
this
appreciate
is
the
great.
introduction.
It's your 5 star introduction, and then it opens up like a whole world because they've been writing for years,
I love
years and
that.
years.
I love the opportunity to add good quality reads to my TBR.
Right?
My
It like
TBR
gives you some
mountain.
guidance
Right?
that you know, like, oh, this one, because I do. I pick up books that I'm like, oh, Meg recommended this. Oh, because I trust your opinion and I know what you like and you know what I like. So if you're recommending it, I
Exactly.
feel like that guides you a little bit to where you're not just staring at
I'm not
lots
looking
of
at the
books that you
bargain
may or
pick.
may not, you know,
Right?
that you may or may
Right?
not connect with. At least you know a little bit.
Yeah.
So I love that.
And I will tell you, it takes me a little bit longer if I don't go in with a recommendation because typically I love to just browse, right? We love a good
Yes.
browse, but there are other things or other times where if I really need, like if I'm at an airport, like the book I'm reading now, if I'm at an airport and I've run out of book, and I'm like I don't feel like reading on my device, and I want to pick out something from they've always got some sort of a
Hmm.
bookstore or something there. I will take an exorbitant amount of time just standing there in front of the books, being like, do I want to spend my money on this? Like, what if it's a bus? Like, what if I hate it? What if blah blah blah? I made the mistake of buying like a book 3 accidentally because I thought it was cute, and I was like, oh, I'll read this one, and then it was like, I think I sent you a
I
picture, and you were like, oh, that's
I
book 3, and I was
burst
like,
your bubble. Yes, I was
but
like, oh
but
wait.
I'm so glad you said something. Can you imagine if I had started on book 3? That would have been devastating. So, but it's always nice to kind of have an idea of what other people like or are reading or know so that you can kind of look toward those.
Yeah, and it guides your decision making in a world where there are so many books.
There are so many options, so many chances to
So
read.
many things. Yes. Do you have
Definitely.
any more 5 star
I
reads?
have one more, which is so
Okay.
funny that you said that the first one you picked was a series because I realized this third one I picked is a series. And I
Yes.
totally didn't think about it.
We're
It
coming full circle.
and I will tell you,
Full
I
circle.
think it is one of in my adult life, it is the first foray into fantasy for me. And so I think
Okay.
it might be why I liked it. It's the Black Jewels series. And it's very fantasy. It's very like
I've
we've
not heard
got
of this
like
one.
dark lords. We've got like a queen who's a young child who's supposed to be a queen because it was prophesied that she was gonna, come to power. And so now these guys are like, hey, each of them wants something different, and they're all trying to control her because if they control her, they control the power. But she's still trying to figure out like where she fits in and like what her power is and how to get there. It's like, and I want to say, and I will tell you, I read it. My children, I don't even know if I had kids yet. It was at least 8 to 10 years ago,
Oh
and still think
wow.
about it. I'm gonna have to go
Yeah.
back and look because I think she's written more books since then. Like I thought it was done. Like wherever I ended my reading of the series, I was like, oh, that's great. Like it feels very, for the most part, wrapped up or whatever. I want to say there's more books because I think there are now 10, and I have maybe read 6 or 7.
Oh,
But I mean, in 10
interesting.
years, like it's obvious that she would have written more.
Yeah.
But I think her name is Anne Bishop who wrote it, but it's very good. Kept me. It's one of those books like the series that kept me up at night to the point where I was like, I'm just gonna keep reading, and I will go to bed at like
Interesting.
I'll go to bed at 2 or I'll go to bed at 4 or like it's fine, it's
It's
daylight. I'll just
fine.
sleep later. Like
Yes.
like I'll just take a nap. But it's one of those that I specifically remember being like, I can't put this down, and it actually came as a recommendation from a friend of
Mm.
mine. Who was like, you might like this, like you like X, Y, and Z, and I was like, okay, I guess you could say I like that stuff. I don't really read about it, and so then this was my first foray into like, oh, there's magic, and it's a little bit darker,
I
and it's
like
like so
magic.
right, and it was a little bit more like it was definitely a different world, not fairies per se, but definitely like power from the fingertips sort of magic, right?
In the
Um,
fantasy realm,
right,
yes.
definitely in fantasy, and where I was like, oh, I actually, and then I thought about it for so long after I was done with them that I was like sad that they were over, and I was like, all right, this is, and so
And maybe they aren't now.
and I can tell you, I know exactly where they are on my shelf because I look at them slightly longingly now and then because I'm like, God, I remember you, like I remember how good that was, and so there are times where I will read a series and I will actually subconsciously like compare it to that first one and be like, did it give me did it give me
Yes.
that same feeling. So the fact that there are like freaking 10 books now, I'm like, this is exciting.
And
Like
so
I
this
have to
is
go back
great
and
that you upped your limit this year
right.
because you have a
Honestly,
lot.
honestly, it is great because if I keep going at this the rate I am now, I may actually hopefully blow my goal out of the water this year and see what happens.
Early. Yes.
Right? It would be cool. It would be cool to blow it out of the water and just like see how much I could do. Not for the fact of just numbering books, but for the fact of like I've enjoyed what I've been reading. Like I'm enjoying it. It feels
That's the
good.
goal.
Yep.
Yeah,
And I still
that's the
have time
goal.
for binging TV, so it's fine. We just binged a show the other day and I was like, look at that. I can do both. Not at the same
I
time, but I
can
can
do
do
it
both.
all. I can.
I can
Yes.
do some entertainment things, but also it's January, so it's not like
We're still in
it's
that
still
slow
early.
period.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're still in hibernation mode, which gives me more time. So don't talk to me in like April, May when I haven't read even a stop sign. Don't ask me any questions then.
That is not the time.
No, that is not it.
Now is the time.
Exactly. Do you have a third?
I will revert to the other episode
Okay,
of the
good.
books I wish I could read again for the first time because those are all three of those that I mentioned are 5-star reads. So I would read them again and also 5-star reads.
I think
So
yeah. I think so.
if
I
you
think
want a little bit more, go check out the other episode.
make sure you watch the last episode because then you have 3, 6, 9 a series, 13, 14 books
And
that
a
we have
brand new
recommended,
artist,
right? And that we've recommended over the last two
author,
weeks. Author, art, writing is an art. It's
other
fine.
artist.
Author,
Yes.
artist. Um, but I think that it's just, I will tell you, like we said at the top of the episode, I am weird about stars, right? I'm a star point person because I want a 5-star read to be a 5-star read. Oh, I will tell you, there's one that I've thought about so much. I gave it a 4 point. I think I gave it a 4.75, 4.5, and I think I was wrong, and I think it's a 5 because I'm still thinking about it.
You
Like
can't stop thinking about
I
it.
can't to the point that I went back for this episode because I was like, oh, let me grab the books that like I want to talk about, and it wasn't on my 5 stars, and I was like, what? Like, who was she?
Oh,
Who did this to us? It's me. It's me. I did it. It's one that I just read. I just happened to pick it up. There's a cute little bookstore down in the center of town, and they have a whole bunch of different like fun, cute reads that I've not heard of. They have our regular ones, right? Where I went and I was like, when does this new one come out? And she was like, February. I was like, that's the wrong month. And so I tried to find something else and it's the one that I have here.
and you
And
have it.
I do because I literally just finished it and was like, I love this book. It's called The Cottage Around the Corner, and it's
I love that cover.
adorable. It's very cute. Like it's very like lilac-y purple, which goes out like really well. And it's about a woman and her parents who own like a little magic shop in town. Like not like a kitschy like magic shop, but like she does tarot readings and they sell like little potion things and little stuff for ailments, and they do like little rituals and things like that, and like that's what they do in their tiny little town. And a mage comes in and sets up shop. They tell you about the difference between
Ah,
witches and mage. They're witches. A mage comes in. Witches use like the energy of the universe. Mages use their own energy, but they do like more outlandish things. And it's like there only space for one shop in this little town is basically
very
the way it goes.
cute.
And like crazy things start happening in the town and they have to work together in order to try and fix it. And it's like it's really sweet, and it was inspiring some of the other things that I'm thinking about like in my real life. And so I think that this is a 5-star that I didn't put as a 5-star, and I have to fix it.
Should have been a 5-star.
Right? Should have been a 5-star. So
Because
I
those
think I'm
are the
gonna have
ones that
to.
you can't stop thinking about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's cute. The character's name is Charlie Sparrow. That's her
I
name.
love
And I
that.
think right, it's super cute. And so she and the spell shop with her family, and all she wants to do is own this damn shop. Like she just wants to be a partner in this shop. And through trials and tribulations, you get to find out if it's the thing that she actually wants
If,
or not.
yeah.
So it's
Oh,
great and
cute.
super adorable. So I think I have to change it. I think I have to go in and
You're gonna have to go
adjust,
back. We've
right?
got a readjustment.
Adjust for the
Gotta
curve.
happen.
Got to make the curve. And I think I have to fix it. So those are mine. There's another one to add to everybody's list should they want it.
Like that. There you go. Add
Yep.
to
And that one's
another.
by D.L. Soria, Soria. But I think that for especially this episode, I'll try and go through and link some of the titles so that people can see if you want to grab them from somewhere, or at least to know
Easy.
what it
Yes.
is. Yeah,
Yes.
we'll try and link some of them down below, along with our Facebook page and our Facebook group. We've got
Yes.
Instagram and Threads. Everything's on there. You can find both of us in all those places. But make sure that you connect with us outside of here, because we only get to talk to you once a week, but we talk all the
Yes.
time. So happy to have
Yes.
some of those other
We love
conversations.
having these conversations.
Yes, and to know what
Join
5-star
us.
reads, what do you consider a 5-star read?
I
And why?
think this is going to be a Facebook conversation. So let's
Yeah,
definitely take this to the Facebook group. We can list some more of our books there, and we can hear what 5-star books you have read and that you would recommend to us. And then that way we can fully connect.
exactly. And
That's what we're
then
here to do.
I have a shopping list when I go to the store. I'll just keep it on I can keep it on my phone. I keep a
I
notes,
keep
like a
it.
list in my notes app
I
of
keep it in my
recommended
Goodreads
books.
app
See, you're better than I
because
am. I keep it on my
I
notes.
can make bookshelves, and it's like, which ones do I have? Which ones do I need? Because we all know series, which ones do I
Hmm.
have? Which ones do I need? Which ones am I looking for? Yes.
I have
Yes.
to be better
So
at
my
that,
that list is growing,
which is awesome. I'm using
and I
Fable.
love
I'm
it.
leaning
I'm
on
not mad about
Fable
it.
right now. And so I think I'll see if I can do the same thing. I will report back. I'll see if I can do the same thing. But right now, my list is in my notes app, like a
Yes.
troglodyte of some sort. I don't know. An old.
I will
I'm
have to
not
check.
cool.
I'll have to check if I could do that in Fable because I know
Yeah.
in Goodreads, at least I get a picture. And so
Yes.
I'm like, I can easily recognize the covers. Or if I'm like
Fair.
words,
It's there's so many. Because I will tell
because
you,
I'm
it's
like,
overwhelming
ooh,
when
shiny.
right when you get to the store and I'm trying to look for an author and I'm of course my head's turned to the side and I'm I also
You're
have
like,
forgotten how to make letters.
I want this one and I want this one. And yeah, and you walk in with your book neck.
Right.
Yep,
Right.
bookstore
And
neck.
I always go the same way.
Hmm. Hmm. Yes,
So. All right. Well, until next time,
fabulous.
we'll see you on the Facebook and other places. Don't forget to like the video if you lasted this long with us, and subscribe so that you
Absolutely.
don't miss a weekly episode.
Because we got more fun stuff coming.
All the things. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.
It was great to have you join us for today's chat. If you'd like to continue the conversation, provide a recommendation, or simply say hi, pop over to Instagram at wine.read.wine. Also, if you're the review type person, we'd love for you to subscribe and leave us an honest review on your favorite podcast player. Or leave us a comment on our YouTube channel. We'll see you on the next episode. Happy reading!